Running for the Bus is sponsored by Bella Forte. Bella Forte use all natural products with only the highest quality ingredients, getting all the right nutrition that sometimes can be a little bit of a struggle. Their smooth cocoa overnight oats are super tasty. I genuinely use them. I've had them this morning. You can try them yourself and save 30% using the code RFTB30. Now, loads of people have been telling me they've been using this product and using all the different stuff that Bella Forte have on offer. And sometimes they forgot to use the code. Don't forget to use the code because you can get 30% off. Hello and welcome to Running for the Bus, presented by BKDMC and hosted by me, Ben Kelleher. On this episode, Ian Arnold, also known as Ian Runs London, joins me to discuss juggling being a dad and an epic run streak, which is nearing 2 years. Ian, thanks for coming on. How are you?
I'm good. We've tipped over 2 years.
Have you? You've gone over that mark?
Today is day 749. So it's 2 years and however many days we're past in January now. I didn't even realise, somebody pointed out that it's one of those years is a leap year, so you get an extra day. So yeah, it's what started as a 66-day challenge has definitely escalated.
Wow. Why did it start with a 66 day?
So it was actually Gymshark's 66 challenge. The idea is to build a habit over 66 days.
Sure.
We were all asked to kind of, would you do it? And I took the easy option of going, I'll just do a run streak. I dabbled in run streaks during COVID. And I think the highest I got was like 89 days. Because of COVID, I was either caught out by being actually ill with COVID or just testing positive, but not feeling ill. I was really keen then. There's having a social media presence. I feel like there's a responsibility. I wasn't just going to go off and carry on in quiet. I was going to be like, these are the rules. I'm sticking by it. Yeah. Streak's over. So I started with the 66 days and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. And then when I got to 66, I was like, this is kind of close to 100. I've never got 100 before. I'm just going to keep going because it was physically challenging as a streak would be, but the benefits I found with my mental health, I was like, actually, the benefits outweigh the physical challenge. So I'm gonna keep going. I got to, I think it was like day 90, and I was so lucky and fortunate. I got offered a place in London Marathon, which would have been on day 114 of the streak. Sure. Now, when I've done streaks before, I always found that it's after the streak you feel worse because your body just like, I don't know, it just aches. And it's strange that it's the days after you stop that always felt the worst. Yeah. So I was like, right, I can't stop, feel bad, and then go to the marathon. So I'll go on to day 114. Sure. And do the marathon on the back of it. The marathon training block, because of how late I got offered a place, was pretty non-existent, but I had the strength of the streak. So all I did was throw in long runs into the streak. So I would do 5K every day, and then I would go and do a half, and I think I got up to 20 miles as a long run. I saw a good friend, Kieran, and we were just talking about it, and he said, if you can run the day after the marathon, that tells you a lot. And you just shouldn't stop. And I did London Marathon, had an incredible time. I felt strong, I felt capable. I got a PB, which, blew my mind. So I think I got 3:28. I say I think because to me, PBs are fairly important, but a micro detail is not there. And then I went out the next day, and it was one of the best 5Ks. Like, it didn't hurt. It was kind of like a good shakeout. I was like, cool, I'm just going to keep going. People would ask when the streak would end. And I was like, I'm going to go for a year. But if it really hurts or I don't enjoy it, it's done. Like, it's not something I want to punish myself. And it hasn't stopped.
And it's still going strong. You're doing it like at all different times. I sometimes see you post that and it's like 11:45 or whatever, midnight. And I'm like, it's like you're racing the clock. If I was you, I'd be like, oh my goodness. Like,
so I call them a Cinder's run because it's very much like Cinderella. You got to get back before midnight. The latest I've left it was, I think I went out at like 11:35, and I
Sure.
wasn't feeling like punchy and ready to go and do a 25-minute 5K, but you're like, needs must.
Yeah.
And then you get it done just before midnight.
Yeah.
There's like ways you can kind of manipulate getting a rest period.
Yeah.
So before I've gone out at like 11:30,
Sure.
done, say it's a Monday, I've gone and done Monday's 5K. I
Right.
then come home, chill for like 20 minutes, go out at midnight on
Yeah.
Tuesday, get that done. And then on Wednesday, I'll do a late run. And then you have a big period in between where you can just
Yeah.
recover a little bit.
Yeah. That's a good sort of plan.
Yeah.
And so, like you sort of said about how doing this has helped mentally, and like, what is it that sort of keeps you going and keeps you doing it, really?
So do you know what? I never really speak about it. I
Yeah.
don't think I've actually spoken about it. So this could be the one. I
Sure.
wrote it down and I didn't put it anywhere. I have a incredible daughter who's fast asleep. She's 10. So
Yeah.
she was born in June, obviously 10 years ago. My
Yeah.
dad passed away in the February of the year she was born. My
Right.
dad didn't leave an active life. The sport he participated in was motorsport. He raced motorbikes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I've always struggled with the fact that had he been healthier and understood the importance of health, he would have met my daughter. And that's always stuck in my head and been like a driving force for life is precious. Life
Yeah.
is short. You can lead your life different ways, but I want to extend mine as much as possible by being healthy, by being fit.
Yeah.
Run streaks have formed part of that because
Yeah.
it keeps my mind going. And I'll be honest, whenever I have spoken about this before, when I run long, I call it going dark because your mind just goes somewhere. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm talking to my dad, and I always enjoy that element of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't need to run long. I will just do it because it's like, this is my time. So that's
Yeah.
what keeps me running. It's kept me going through the streak because I'm always like thinking about my daughter. I think about my dad loads. Like we weren't the closest throughout life, but towards the end we were like that. I feel like it's for him, for me, and 100% for my daughter. Like that's partly why I do it at 11, because if she's here, if I'm
Yeah.
going out at 7:30 and she's here, I'm taking time away. So I'll be like, right, time to go to bed, and then I'll go out, because otherwise it kind of, I don't think running 5K will add half an hour every day to my lifespan. So actually I would end up having the negative effect. So I'm like, I'll
Yeah.
run late, I'll run early. And when I do run, when she's awake, you'll see it on socials.
Yeah.
She's not a runner. I'd love her to be. She's dabbled, but she'll get on her bike and we'll go together.
Yeah.
And the conversations we have when we're out like that are amazing. We talk about
Yeah.
emotions, feelings, like it's
Love that.
such an amazing connection time. Like I feel so grateful and fortunate for my relationship with her and what
Yeah.
running has brought to it.
Mm.
That like, yeah, I owe a lot to running.
Yeah.
Like I owe probably my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's huge. That's
Yeah.
huge. I think thank you for sharing that, because I think it's really gives so much more like reason behind what you're doing. I
Yeah.
think, when people see your streak and they say, okay, you're doing 5K every day, and it's like, why? Well,
Yeah.
you've just given such a
Yeah.
good reason, and you've explained like what's initially drove you to that, and then also now what that brings. And I think that's so huge. And those conversations that you get to have with your daughter that maybe you wouldn't get to have, because if you're doing whatever else, you maybe don't get that sort of one-on-one time in other situations, because might be doing whatever on playing on with whatever, or an iPad or whatever. So at least you get that time, right? You get that one-on-one, and I think that's so valuable. I do try to do similar with my family and stuff, and we try to make sure we get that time. And I think it's crucial, as like you say, because that time you won't get back, and so use it wisely, because it's so important.
Yeah, it is huge. And I think one thing the streak has also taught me
Yeah.
is you can find time. And I don't think you can find time for running. I'm not one of them people that say you have 24 hours in a day. Like, yeah, you have 24 hours in a day, but there's elements where you might think you don't have time, but you can carve it out. When I have to go to work before my daughter's awake, I have a commitment. I write a note in a book. So I'll write her a note every time I go. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I've not got time. And then I'm like, hold on a minute. You can find time to run 5K. You can write this note. So it is a bit of a rule I'll write her a little note. She'll write her replies. And sometimes her replies are, the writing's just wonky across the page. She'll just write like, thanks. But it's one of them things like, and I think it is partly to do with my dad. I want her to be able to look, you know, when the day comes and I'm out of here, I want her to be able to read that book and go, that's, you know, my dad's something I struggled with. I can't remember when it was in training actually it was after a marathon. I felt a bit lost with the streak. And again, I didn't speak about it because where I said, I feel like sometimes I go and I talk to my dad, I went and did long runs and it felt like he wasn't there. And I was like, I really wanted to go back and find a video and hear like his voice. Because I feel like when people pass, it gets to a period where you forget what they sound like. And there is, there's nothing with that. And it was a real, like, it messed with my head a little bit. And I was like, I could probably find the date. There was a day where I just went and it was that loop. I went and did, I think 16 miles on the loop. And that was purely going, right, come on, you're here somewhere, let's go. And it clicked. And it was like, actually, it's still there. Because it is that funny. He sounded like he was Bethnal Green, or that he just didn't, we don't sound alike. So you couldn't like paraphrase it. But yeah, so I feel like it's really important to her be able to look back at videos and, you know, people say, why is she on my social media? It's like, because she can look back at that. It's not intimate. It's her being a lunatic on the bike and his memories,
I often
right?
refer to like those like things on Instagram and everything like that as almost like a bit of a personal journal that's online, or an image sort of journal that you can use. And I've actually started journaling myself this year because I've been talking to lots of people about that and making sure you write down things, because when you're looking back at things or when you're in another situation that might be tricky, you can say, actually, this is what you've done before. So I think Instagram and stuff can be used in that way. Obviously, it can be used for a multitude of things, but I personally like to use it in that way and to think, as you say, you know, when I have children or something one day, that, you know, I'm not looking to put them on there to be like that, but, you know, more in a way of, they can be a part of that journey because they're a part of your journey. And it's important that they can have those memories to look back on. And one thing you said as well is that she's not much of a runner. But I was listening to that and I was thinking, well, when I was 10, I was not much of a runner. When I was 15, 16, even when I was 18, until I got into the marathon and started training, I wasn't at all. You never know.
Yeah, I think she'd like to be. There's beautiful moments where she's just come up and goes, Daddy, I'd like to get into running again. She's done, like, don't get me wrong, she can do a 5K park run. The last one I did was with Michael, Urban Challenger. He brought his daughter. He was late, as usual. But she spent the whole thing going, I'm going to die. It was like, you're not. And I think she'd like to, right? I was really fortunate. And this is why it's important that I feel like I want to lead the active life and inspire that. My granddad was heavily involved in sports in Tottenham. He drove the local sports council and really elevated sport. He helped build a sports pavilion. And I always had that to look up to. And as kids, we played every sport, right?
Yeah.
Well, I say we tried. So I went to cricket, terrible. Tennis, terrible. Football, shocking. And we used to run and I was okay. And the funny thing is I stopped running because I went to an event and I have a brother who's 2 years older than me. So we were really close and we both went and we were in different categories with a different route. And I got lost and I ended up doing the long route. And my mum was really worried because of that. I was so embarrassed. I never went back.
Really? Yeah.
I just totally sacked it off. Then when people say, when did you start running? Like I always talk about my adult start of running because that's when I enjoyed it and it kind of clicked. I have a I've got like medals somewhere, the old like
Yeah.
medals that you'll
Yeah.
go and get
Wow.
from like a cobbler's. That's important for me to try and inspire her to be active. And
Yeah.
whether it's bike or not, which is, it's great.
Yeah. It's important she has that enjoyment as well, because I don't think I've told this story on the podcast before, but when I was younger, I remember in sports days and things like that. So I was trying different sports. My brother was really good at football, doing all those sort of things, and I was not. I remember doing things and not doing very well. And I specifically remember I must have been like I think probably about 5 or 6 maybe. I remember being in primary school, and every sports day would come along, and I would always come like last and just not do very well in these like runs. And I remember there was one time where I remember just doing this 100-meter sprint or whatever it was. It's a sprint race, and I remember running and just seeing everybody go ahead of me, and I'm just running at the back. And I was so annoyed, so frustrated that I just kept running. I got to the end and I just kept running, and I ran out of the playground like into my classroom just to get away from the whole thing. And then I remember my dad coming into the classroom and being like, "Ben, this has got to stop. Like, you can't respond in this way to losing. You've got to realize that it's the taking part and the enjoyment." And I think only when I've got obviously into running more, and when I got into London and trained, and my mindset changed, because it basically changed to, you're going to finish this. This is the goal. You don't need to win it. You don't need to do it. You need to go there and finish it and show that you can do this. And then within that, I've found fun and enjoyment. And we were talking before that I've got my dad and my stepmom and my cousin are all going to be taking part in the Great North Run this year.
I love that.
So do I. I cannot wait, because they came last year to support, and then they were like, "Oh, maybe we could do this." And I was like, fantastic. Like, this is happening. So we're all doing it, and I'm going to be running with them. I'm not going to be going there to enjoy it. They keep saying to me like, "Oh, well, you can just go off." And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it for that. This is not what I'm here for. I'm going for that. So it's going to be nice to flip that around and be there to support them and do that. And obviously people that have maybe not done races before, or have had different sort of setbacks, it's really important to try and show, actually, anyone can do this. It doesn't, we've got different goals in mind and different ways that we can achieve these things. And obviously we've got a new partnership coming along that's going to be pretty massive soon. That's going to hopefully help and support those people, but we're not going to announce that just yet.
Not yet.
But yeah, so all of that's really important.
I think that's one thing, running. And I don't even think, like, for me, it was probably the marathon, but for some people it's 5K, 10K. I think it teaches you a lot about capabilities and about not doubting yourself, because there's so many people I talk to, and they're like, "Oh my God, I've got my first marathon." And I'm like, you can do it. Time is irrelevant. You can do the distance. I'm confident that anybody could go out there, and however long it would take them, they're capable. And I think once you have done the distance you set, for me, it was the marathon. It unlocks so much with you going, "Do you know what? Maybe I need to give myself a little bit more credit and go, you can do it." So, when I talk about the ultra and everyone's like, "Oh, you're mad." It's like, I know that no matter how I feel on the day, unless something breaks is a dramatic word, but unless something stops working the way it should, forward on, and just go, I will get there at whatever point. And if there's a cut off in a race, you don't get a medal. Just like,
exactly.
The medal's not
if they come around with the sweepers and the cleaners,
just let them go past
you. Just keep going. That's the key, right? Like,
and I think that has, like, running, as I said, I feel like I owe it so much. And I spoke about him on the runner. I was on the Runners World podcast, and I feel like he doesn't get enough credit, right? Because he's not on social media. It's a guy I used to work with, Gary. The first marathon I got into, I think it was 2016, London Marathon, in the ballot. I was one of them people that was really annoying. First ballot, first in. It was a pub conversation. Should we enter the marathon? He was a keen runner. There was no one else at work that really ran with him.
Yeah.
And a couple of us got in. I think he didn't get in, so he took a charity place. And we planned to meet up, because you start in different ways. Would be like, meet up. And he was so supportive. We would have such in-depth conversations. I'm not particularly religious. He's very religious. We'd have open conversation about religion, about family. And that's where I think I learned the power of connection through running. I didn't particularly have great training for London because I didn't really know what I was doing. My longest run before the marathon, I think, was 15 miles. And my head went.
Yeah.
And I went home. I was like, my mum, I am not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, yes, you are. You're going to go and you're going to do it. And if you're not going to do it, you're going to try.
Yeah.
And I went. And somehow I know why. It's the crowd, the atmosphere, everything. It carried me through. And he had a not the most amazing run because he had a knee problem.
Sure.
But I always credit him because he inspired that journey. We still speak. We don't get to run together. We live quite far apart. But for me, his humility, his selflessness, he was running his runs slower with me because I was getting into it. And he was so encouraging that I credit him for the fact that I did that, which unlocked so much more within running. It taught me the power of community,
Yeah.
So he probably won't watch this, but Gary, get on social media. Then I can tell everyone how amazing you are.
Absolutely. It's those
It's
people, like you say, who don't want certain recognition. I've talked about, there's people that have inspired me to do this podcast. Obviously, you've mentioned Michael being our first guest, the Urban Challenger. He was one of the people that inspired the podcast. That was why he was one of the first guests. And as well, this person called Donna Dawn, who works loads with the London Marathon. She was particularly one of the people. We were chatting on a plane coming back from Berlin, and I'd basically done Berlin and I was doing New York. And I was like, yeah, that's it. I haven't done a marathon in 8 years. I'm coming back to do these 2. That'd be it, really. And then she was like, what about the majors? Like, why don't you consider that? And I was like, what are the majors?
Yeah. Lit that fire. You're like, right.
Literally, I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, you're doing 3 of them. And obviously now I'm, doing loads and absolutely love them and, got a lot of connection there.
Yeah, I think
with the different people.
Then people are so important, right? And they don't realize their impact. And I think even when you tell them, right, they never truly take it in because they're probably the most humble people.
She started the conversation by going, yeah, I've done a few runs. And I was like, oh, sort of how many? We were going on and she was telling me about this marathon. And then eventually she went, I sort of said, well, like, how many marathons have you done then? And she was like, well, I'm at 183 at the moment.
I think if I did like 2 a year until I'm out of this planet, I wouldn't even do that. That's wild and amazing. I think it's interesting, right? Because I think just touching on Michael, like, I don't think Michael gets enough credit because he's one of the, he's humble. He's really supportive. We've just started the Excellent Run Club. We had a run from Victoria, which is our new store, to the new Genki store in Borough.
Yeah.
And we'd organised it. And then I was like, oh, I'm a bit nervous.
Sure.
And I just messaged him. I was like, Michael, can you come? And he's like, yeah, bro, got you. When I said about the ultra for my birthday, I was like, yeah, got you. He's like one of the great friends I've met through running.
Yeah.
Runner Ben. He likes to be funny. He calls me dad because of my age. I call him son. He calls my daughter sis. Although lately he's calling her Dobby, which isn't going down very well. There's so many amazing people that you meet through it. Some of them you meet through running and they don't have a social media presence. I hope she doesn't mind me mentioning this. I've met someone through the Royal Parks Half Marathon called Des. She works for Royal Bank of Canada. Most incredible woman, inspirational, just one of those beautiful souls, right? She doesn't have social media. I think she's potentially now is 7 or 8 years of running every day.
Wow.
Just in the background. And she's so kind, supportive, all about giving back. Do I think social media is essential? No, but I think people need to know how great she is. So I don't know how else you can shout about it, kind of thing.
It's a fine line, isn't it? Like you say, there's so many incredible people out there that we both know, and you see them and you think, well, but they're happy doing that, and that's absolutely fine. And like for me personally, I'm very much that case as well in terms of like, I'm not that worried about getting lots of followers or. I've said this about the podcast before, like if people are listening, which they are, it's amazing. But the reason we do this is because it's a conversation, it's a community that we build. It's hopefully people listening to this will, maybe if they've not met you before, but they come along to your run club, or they do whatever, and they get to meet you and they go, actually, I listened to you on that and I found out about your streak and I wanted to chat with you. And, you know, the conversation that they have with you is going to be similar to this conversation in terms of it's going to be open and honest. And I think that's a huge thing that running brings that you just wouldn't get in other places. You know, you might not get that in down the pub these days or whatever it might be. You know, you might, but it's, you know, and there's nothing wrong with people wanting to do certain things, but running gives that as an outlet. That's
100%. I enjoy the creative side of making reels. Sometimes time is short. Like when you look at the rung of my priorities, it's like bottom of the ladder. So I wouldn't do it and take away from other things. But it's interesting. There was a shady comment put on one of my reels about like I should just have a rest because I said that the run felt hard, and then someone else put, there's no content in rest. If obviously TikTok, there's that whole America thing. If my social media had to go, I'd still be running every day.
Yeah.
Like in reality, probably your best content is on the rest day. Like, because that's when you do it. But yeah, I find it really interesting. People are like, would you still do it if you weren't posting about it? 100%.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, my mind is so balanced. I use that time to go through any issues I've had during the day, to plan stuff. You get excited about the future, you know, holidays. Some of the best ideas are on the run streak. I think if I stopped running, I'd be an absolute lunatic. Like you would be, that guy is unhinged.
Yeah.
But like now it's like, it's just, it brings so much that I don't really care about socials. Talking of like connection, this is an idea that came from one of my loops. What I'd love to do in March, and I don't know if it will be possible, I want to run with a different person every day for my 5K in March.
Love that.
Just to be like, I just want to meet community. I'm not sure the logistics of it yet, but I would just love to be able to expand. And at the run yesterday, there was a lady, she was great. She was like, my pace is kind of like an 8-minute kilometer. Do you think that'll be fine? And I'm like, 100%, we've got you. We made it accessible so that she was catered for the whole run, and she loved it. And afterwards, I was like, look, if you want to run anytime, let me know. I'll meet you at the store. We'll run 5K, 8-minute kilometers. I've got you. She's like, oh my God, that's amazing. Because for me, those people existed for me. I would be an absolute arse if I didn't exist for other people in the same way people showed up for me.
Definitely.
And 8-minute Ks feel great. Like they feel just as good. Like,
yeah, it's so true. Well, I love the idea that you've got there as well. So, you know, I'm more than happy to come and join you for one of those days.
Mate, let's kick it off day one. We'll commit right now.
What, in March?
Yeah.
I actually can't because I'm in Tokyo.
Shady.
I'm in Tokyo. I'm doing the marathon on the 2nd of March. So, but I will join you for one of them.
That would be amazing. I appreciate it.
100%. I'm really up for that because, I'd love to. But I am in Tokyo on the 1st of March and then running the marathon.
Do you know what? I've always wanted
to
go to Tokyo. That's like a kind of holiday destination. I'd love to go.
I can't wait. I'm actually doing a 5K on the first day when we land in Tokyo because Emma and Megan are coming out. I don't know if you've seen them. They're on my social media. Whenever I sort of do a major race or different things, often they're there, if they're there, or like my dad's there or somebody. But often they come to them. They've been out to Berlin, they've been out to Chicago, they've been sort of all over for the different ones. They came to Amsterdam a few months ago, and they're coming to Tokyo in a couple of weeks' time. And it's super exciting. But in Chicago, we basically made this agreement where we said, look, by the time it comes to Tokyo, I want you guys to do like a 5K. And we were like, we'd do like an official one they've got like a 5K in Tokyo that they do. Fortunately, we sold out, so we can't do that. But so I'm having to plan a 5K route, which, hopefully works out. But we're doing this 5K in Tokyo, and they're going to be doing it for the first time ever. They've never done that far before. Like, it's going to be huge.
I love that.
And like, I've got them like medals and I've got some other surprises in the store. It's honestly going to be super, super enjoyable. So I will be doing a 5K over there. And then, it's going to be just incredible. And as I say, I've got some surprises in store, because I don't know if you've seen the stuff that they do when they're out there, and they basically
I haven't seen it.
pull a lot of different pranks. Or keep an eye on Tokyo, because I'm sure
Oh,
they'll be
I
on it
love it.
again. I think people actually enjoy their content more than my content, which is totally fair, because it's really good. They basically just have a ball with it. So I'm going to go in with the same energy, and after this call, I will tell you some of the things, because I
Oh,
don't
mate,
want
I
to tell
can't
them on
wait.
here, because it's a surprise for them, and I don't want them to know about it. So yeah, but when you're doing your 5K on the 2nd of March, maybe try and tie it in with my marathon that
Do you
way.
know what? And this is where maybe my mind isn't exactly where it should be. When you said that, I was like, do you know what? I might just do a marathon on the 2nd, just to be
Yeah,
like, yeah, we'll do it on the same day.
yeah.
Because
Do it for sure.
I do want to, like, and that's not, I've been not accused of this before. I've been called out on this before by a friend. So it's not like beef of going like, you don't respect the distance. And I do respect the distance,
Yeah,
but I also respect the fact that being uncomfortable is okay. And it's not like, when I say uncomfortable, it's not like I've got an injury and I'm running through it. It's uncomfortable as in it's hard work.
yeah,
Like when I talk about chasing discomfort, it's not at the point of injury. It never is. Like if that was to creep in, it'd be like, you know
yeah,
what? The streak's over. The goal of the streak now, I say 3 years, but in reality, to a lot of people, I call it the never ending streak, because I
yeah,
don't really have an end date. The end date is I hate it or I'm injured. Because I
yeah,
feel like if I go beyond that, it would be like so detrimental for me. It'd be a really bad example for anyone else, because people say, are there any runs you don't like? I'm like, do you know what? No. Like I genuinely enjoy every day of the streak. Some runs feel hard. Hard is enjoyable because you're working, right? I think
yeah,
sometimes people confuse, oh, I really didn't enjoy that. Why? It felt really hard. Why does that mean it's not enjoyable? You're working, right?
yeah, yeah.
When I first started the streak, every run was like a 22-minute 5K, which is
Sure.
like, it's cool. It's not, it wasn't needed.
Yeah,
Now, quite a lot, if I'm running on my own, I will phone people. One, it brings the pace down.
mm,
Two, I'm connecting with people that potentially I might just be at home watching Netflix and be like, oh, I'll phone them later, and then you don't. I use that time to keep in contact with people and slow the pace down, because running hard to me is enjoyable. You're working hard, but sometimes if I'm not working towards a goal, like I don't need to run that pace.
yeah,
Sometimes you want to work hard and you feel like you need that kind of cathartic release. But I definitely, like, if I was to get to a point where I really don't enjoy it, it'd be like, you know what? Uh, it's over. There's no, like, I'm not dead set on 3 years. 3 years is
yeah.
great because it's just that natural marker, right? But in
Sure.
reality, I'm not going to run today going, right, this is another day of my 3 year streak. I'm just going out and running because I'm running every day. And I don't want to get
Yeah,
my head around it.
yeah. And I feel like you might have 3 years, and then you might have that kind of 1,000 days, because then that kind of
I just
it's
think it's
like,
going to roll. I think it will
yeah,
roll.
keep going
And
past that.
yeah, because you could get really stuck on numbers. And I think I
Yeah,
don't want to get stuck on numbers, because that's when you potentially push through a point where you maybe shouldn't.
yeah. And I
Um,
feel like you, from what you've sort of said as well, like you enjoy it, and you told us what it brings you.
yeah,
So I don't necessarily see an end in sight on that streak.
no,
It's,
no, it will
I think,
be, there's an element, it could be circumstantial. You never know what might happen during your day. You could be stuck somewhere. You could have family circumstance. Like I wouldn't put it above family, but yeah, like there's
yeah,
no end in sight, and
yeah,
I'm very happy about that.
yeah, brilliant. Well, you've obviously taken on some pretty epic challenges. You've discussed some of them. Can you sort of tell us maybe what's been your most challenging so far, would you say?
This is an element where I think it was potentially irresponsible, which is why
Okay.
it was so challenging. And I'm not sure. I'm I'm definitely not chuffed I did it. So I'm probably 5 years sober. I find it interesting when you tell people that you're 5 years sober, because when you say that, they imagine you had some horrendous habit that you had to, and it's not. It's just I don't drink anymore. It doesn't
Yeah.
fit my lifestyle. I'm not anti-drink. Like someone
Yeah.
wants to have a pint, everyone's free to do whatever. But I did the marathon. I can't remember what year. It was the hottest marathon ever.
Right.
And maybe 3 to 4 weeks before, I'd been out day drinking,
Sure.
and I tore a ligament in my foot.
Yeah.
And because it was for a charity place, I was like, well, I've just got to run it. And I ran it with that injury, maybe to 5 hours, 40 minutes. But
Yeah.
and I don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it for different reasons, because it just, you know,
Yeah.
I just sacked it off. I didn't, there was no kind of time goal, but actually I shouldn't have run with that. And
Sure.
that made that really challenging, probably for not the best reason.
Right.
And that, I don't think my head was in the same place to handle those sort of mental challenges.
Yeah.
It was more like brute force getting through it. Other challenges, I'm not sure, because
Has there been any that you have enjoyed the most, like, or particularly enjoy?
there's so many.
Yeah.
Marathons are always enjoyable for different reasons, whether you're running with friends. My most enjoyable marathon, I know it's not necessarily challenges. Actually, no, we'll go to a challenge first, because it involves Michael and it's funny. So this, we did called Level Water. So it was a 24-hour
Sure.
swim relay, and it was a
Yeah.
team of, I think, maybe 6. So the idea is it was an outdoor swim.
Right.
So you would have someone swimming for an hour at a time,
Sure.
and you would take it in turns, and you would just swim for that whole hour, and it would be for a 24-hour period. So you're swimming in the dark.
I saw it. Like, you're swimming at 3 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
hour.
So it was amazing. So it was my partner. It was Michael, Emma, Jenny, Vassos, and another lady whose name I forgot, which is really bad. So we went and we pitched up a tent because we naively thought we would sleep. Definitely didn't get enough sleep. If you think you know Michael well, wait till you see him sleep deprived. He is like a grumpy lion. Like, honestly, he was like, what am I doing here? And that was a real mental challenge, because you would go and you would swim for an hour, right? And there's no, you don't have to aim for distance. You could if you wanted. So you would go and you had a choice of wetsuit or no wetsuit. It's pretty cold, so I went wetsuit. And you would do your hour swim, and you're just going around a lake in circles. So your mind isn't focused on any complexity of the physical activity. So again, you go into an interesting place and you really have time to think. You would then go out and rest, but you've probably only got 5 hours in between.
Sure.
By the time you get out, wetsuit off, you wouldn't really sleep. But one of the mental battles was when you had to go back in, you're putting back on a cold wetsuit. So that's like the first thing. And then you go in your second daytime swim, all good. The night swim, honestly, you're going into, there's no, like, it's not floodlit. You have a little like bicycle type light that you put on the back of your hat, and you're just going round in the dark. You can't see anything in the water, and there were fish and stuff. It was just like an outdoor lake. And I couldn't get out of my head during this swim the scene of the Titanic where everyone's just floating in the water. And it honestly, it did my head in. And then you're trying to see if you can see things in the water. And at some point I went round and there was one of these lights at the bottom. And I was like, is that light attached to a person, or is someone's light fell off? I was like, what do I do? Do I try and go down? And I was like, it's the weirdest experience of my life. But in my head was just the Titanic music. But that was in it. Again, it was just one of those mental challenges, which we came even closer as people and had such an incredible time. Like, sleep deprived, you get over that. And I've done similar things like that. So sad that it's gone, but Ragnar Relay, where you used to run from Kent to Brighton, maybe, as a team, and
Yeah.
you would do legs each. That was amazing. I think anything you do as a team where you have to contribute to the team, whether it's in a support aspect or just doing the run
Yeah.
and are slightly sleep deprived, you will grow as a person. I think any challenge, as long as you're mentally open to it and
Yeah.
understand, if you go into it understanding you're going to feel probably tired, frustrated at points, and you go
Yeah.
in with the view that you overcome that,
Sure.
you'll learn to deal with being grumpy in life because you're tired. You go, do you know what? It's not that bad. Like
Yeah.
being tired's
Yeah.
not that bad.
It does give you that perspective, doesn't it? You're like, well, I've got through this and I can do this. And
Yeah.
sometimes it is just about pulling yourself through or pulling yourself up. Especially, I know that in the morning I get up around 5 usually, and
Same.
it's not always that easy. It's not always
Same.
that easy. It's but you have a coffee, have something to eat, and suddenly your day starts to feel a little bit better. And yeah, it's similar in these challenges.
Are
Sometimes I
you
pop in.
are you a single shot or double shot coffee man?
I try to be single shot.
Oh,
Sometimes I
same.
might need a double
Same.
or something.
It was a double shot this morning. It's quite funny you're talking about this challenging thing and challenges. Everyone obviously, well, not everyone, quite a few people are like, oh, David Goggins. Michael is. He's like, who's going to carry the boats? Every time he says that, I'm like,
Yeah.
there's no boats. We're in the middle of London. Like, just, I sometimes feel like people focus on that kind of thing and go, actually, just focus on
Yeah.
you because you're carrying your own boat. You're not like, Goggins is great, but
Yeah.
actually think about what you achieve. Like, some people do the marathon and they're like, oh, I was 3 minutes slower. And like, I think you should acknowledge that if it's your goal, but also
Yeah.
go, oh my God,
Yeah.
I am the whatever percent, because I know there's a stat of so many percent people. And I think that there's a great bit of you understand your value more.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
that's the
Exactly.
bit of on the streaks, I reflect so much more that you go, oh my, like just the run club from Exalt to Genki. It's like, oh my God, I was part of arranging that. You know,
Yeah.
Michael probably doesn't even give him credit for yesterday, but
Mm.
without it, wouldn't have been as good as it was.
Sure.
And I think time to pause is essential.
100%. And obviously, like talking about those challenges and pushing yourself into uncomfortable situations and I think like that. Have you got anything in mind, perhaps that you want to take on? Maybe it's a little bit frightening. Maybe you don't want to put it out there just yet, or maybe it's exciting. That's a long-term goal.
So this is where I get called an idiot. And I don't mind that, to be fair. My partner, she's recovering from an injury, but she's incredible. She's done, so she's kind of, I say ex-CrossFitter. I think she may go back to CrossFit. Marathon runner, triathlete, and she's done an Ironman.
Right.
So there's always the joke of who's done the most marathons. And I say, and I think I've got Michael to join me on this one, but he needs
Okay.
permission from his wife. Is I want to do an Ironman.
Great.
Like I said,
That's
this year's the
frightening.
year.
That's
So
all of those things.
I consistently undertrain, and that's not from not respecting the distance. And this probably, some may say, makes me a bad runner, I guess. I struggle with plans.
Sure.
Because, you know, for me, I feel like you need to be agile in life, and sometimes with plans you can't necessarily be. And I don't
Yeah.
like the rigidity of plans. I had a run
Yeah.
coach once, it didn't work out. I've tried plans once, and you know, I prefer a loose plan where I just up my distance. I've never really trained for speed as such. I'm quite fortunate that, I don't know whether it's the way I'm built or something. I'm relatively quick, but I suggested it. I said that I was going to do it, and it was like, you need to try. You need to train. So running, I can run outside. I can run anywhere, and I feel at peace. If you put me on a static turbo bike, like a rat in a trap, I hate it. I want to get off it. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. And I tried to do like the whole Zwift thing, and I'm like, I just want out. And
Yeah.
it's weird because I could go on a treadmill for hours, but you put me on a bike next to it, I'm like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
So she was like,
Interesting.
you won't do the training, so you will really struggle on the bike. I did Blenheim Palace Triathlon last year.
Yeah.
The swim. So I haven't actually mentioned this on this. I have a background of swimming. So I used to swim for Middlesex as a kid. So I went to the sprint try. The swim, I was like 115th maybe.
Sure.
The run, I was 100 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
The cycle, I was 1,500 and something. Because I got on the bike
Which one?
and I started cycling and my legs just went, what are you doing? There was
Yeah.
just one little hill and my quads just went, no. And like people were coming past me on bikes with little baskets on. And that, like, again, I didn't, at that point, I was like, it's humbling, right? This tells me I haven't put the work in. And she was like, unless you're going to train for it, no.
Yeah.
But one, they're expensive. So an Ironman. So I think next year I would like to do it.
Great.
And again, because it's not trying to go to the extreme, it's naturally, as you expand your uncomfortableness, you become comfortable. So naturally it just keeps expanding a little bit until it, obviously there'll be limits and I might try an Ironman next year and totally fail and go, do you know what? That's something I can't do. Yeah. So I think that's where it's edging towards.
I'm sure like, with the mindset and then with the training for something like that, I'm certain you're going to get there.
Yeah. I just need the quad.
It does sound a good thing.
Well,
I'd be interested at some point, maybe, but
I feel like this is a me, you, and Michael next year now. You've said too much already.
I think the connection's a bit dodgy on the my end. I can't quite hear you.
Funny enough, I'm trying to convince her, and I was followed by someone, and it really bothered me. So I said she had an operation on her leg. She's got a metal frame, and I said, do you know what would be great? Injury to Ironman. Imagine that as a comeback. She's not keen. And then somebody followed me with the handle injury to Ironman. I was like, you missed your opportunity.
Yeah.
That could have been the one.
Yeah.
Because I
think
think
it does look incredible, and I see it and I think, wow. And I mean, I've done a triathlon before. I'm doing an Olympic triathlon at the T100 this year. So
I was tempted by
you know,
that. I think it's probably sold out. I'm sometimes not organised enough to sign up.
Oh, well, keep an eye out. Keep an eye out because I think they might have just released a new batch. I think a couple of days ago. So you never know.
I'll see if Michael's doing it.
Yeah, maybe get involved. Well, that's where we met back when it was Challenge a couple of years ago, and yeah. So I'm sort of gearing towards it, but I've got a few things coming up, and as I say,
what's your biggest challenge this year?
This year,
okay,
probably the 100K. It's actually. Probably the 100K. There might be something at the end.
I was going to say that face said that's the only one you can say out loud.
Yeah, there might be something at the end of the year, but can't mention that just yet. We haven't got. But I think we're actually going to potentially announce something in a month's time.
I love this.
Yeah, I think that we're going to potentially announce it on the podcast. So there you go. You'll have to listen. If it works out, it's going to be something pretty epic, and it might. Yeah, might be completely different to something else.
Do you know what I'd actually like to do at some point? The speed project. I like the kind of point-to-point team challenges because I think they bring so much. And if you can get a good group of people, and I don't mean good as in they're good people, I mean that I think a real mixed bunch of friends. I think friends is great. And I don't think friends is essential because I think if they're not friends, they are by the end.
Yeah.
I think they're great. And I think they, to really understand the camaraderie and that kind of thing. That's probably one of the things that I was probably the saddest about is Ragnar Relay going. Because that was incredible. You'd get in a van, you had 10 people, it was amazing. But obviously there's a cost. You have so many checkpoints but I'd like to do the speed project at some point.
That's another ambition that you can work towards. We'll have to see. So you seem really invested in bringing the running community together. You've talked about your run clubs there. You've talked about obviously the connections you have with people online and offline and all of those different things that are going on. What does that sort of look like for you going forward? Like, why is that so important?
I think for me, I'm really grateful for the company I work for at the moment, so Exalt. So we are building a community, and it's not to. We've never looked at it as like we need to do this to make money. It's about wellness, health, and bringing it to people. We will
Yeah,
always give to the community. For anyone that comes to our run club, you get free drink afterwards. Any collabs we do, the goal is that you get free stuff from everyone,
yeah,
because we want to encourage people to show up. And I'm just so excited to build a community on the basis of that, and to be able to bring people from any level in. Like, we're really keen in the descriptions. It's like, if you want a PB, this is not the place. Like, if you're here to really train for a run, this isn't the place. If you just want to run, meet new people, we'll always say, look around, see someone you haven't met before, and just talk to them.
yeah,
And just being able to expand the community in a really inclusive way is something I'm so grateful to be able to do. And just, yeah, it's exciting. And I just want, yeah, I think it's key. I think everyone says running is free. At the base point it is, right? But running, there are quite a lot of barriers to entry with running, whether you look at the price of kit. Like, shoes are so expensive now. You're looking at race entry, there's so many barriers to entry. Being able to be part of stripping that away, like, it
yeah,
would be great where times aren't so important for some people, of just going like, actually, we're going to do a half marathon this day. If you want to do your first half,
yeah.
you're with us. And the medal is the fact that there's an invisible medal that's just pride.
Sure.
I'd really like that movement. I think there's some
Yeah,
incredible people doing it, doing communities. So, it was hilarious yesterday. Our route to Borough, we got to a
yeah,
traffic light, and on the other side of the traffic light was Pure Sport Run Club. And there was a guy who lives local, Dylan. And I shout like, Dylan. And we had a little chat. And then it was like, we all started making loads of noise, jumping up on the spot. And then the lights changed, and we
yeah.
just ran at each other. And like, all of us had smiles on our faces. And it was like that incredible moment of like,
Yeah,
it's just communities. Pure Sport
yeah,
do an incredible job and have got so many people into running. That's what it is great. And I think to take people on that journey who will then inspire other people. Like, there's a boom in running, and some people,
yeah,
everybody's running. That's amazing because everybody's moving, right?
yeah,
It's a health movement.
yeah,
There are people that would look and go, oh, Pure Sport elitist. I've never met a person at Pure Sport who's been like that. Like,
sure.
everyone I've met who's been there is incredible.
Yeah,
But some people will turn their nose up at certain people within the running community. And I think, to me, that's horrendous, right? People will turn their nose up at me and go, oh, look at that idiot that does the run streak. That's just wrong, because that means it's acceptable for someone to do that to you.
yeah,
Like, I'm the person that when I'm running around here, every person I see, I smile, I say hello. I don't care if they don't say it back, right?
yeah,
I want to, you want to put across the friendly run, I think.
yeah.
Sometimes there's an element that there's too much judgment in the running community. So I want to just be like, it's inclusive. Run clubs
100%.
are to an extent free. I know there's some that do charge a little fee, but again,
Yeah,
ones I've
it's,
seen, they charge a fee, but you get something free that's worth more than that.
yeah, yeah,
I just want to share that whole inclusive side of things.
definitely.
As I said with the lady that was there yesterday, if someone says, I can't make your run club on Thursday, it's like, cool. If you want to run on Wednesday,
Yeah,
let me
come
know.
join.
Tell me where to be, and we'll get it done, because I've had so much support on my journey. I feel like I owe it to give back. And that's what I'm doing now. Absolutely
Amazing.
adore it.
I love that. And as you said, there's so many different run clubs to suit different types of runners.
Yeah.
And, there's female only run clubs. There's run clubs that often will end at a
Oh,
coffee
Runners and
shop or have
Stunners is
coffees on
great.
us.
Runners and
Yeah, runners
Stunners is
is
great.
run for, yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And
And then,
yeah, you've got the high performance club, you've got scrambled legs, you've got all these
yeah.
other incredible ones. ones that I've been along to, and obviously I've been along to your one, which is fantastic. And as you say, there's different things that go on, and you can get involved. And sometimes, as you say, with your club, perhaps maybe if you're training for something, you might not be able to go along, but then when you can go a different time. So
Yeah.
I've loved being there, and I miss it when I'm in a plan as I am at the moment, where I'm perhaps a little bit more restricted in terms of what I can do, but I do miss that element of being able to go out, because this past year I've done a lot more of that, and I've really loved it.
I think there's run clubs are great. I think just chatting out a couple, so Runners and Stunners is incredible. I think what Jenny has done for the running community is amazing. I think
Definitely.
there's areas that will always look at some negatives of run clubs, but I don't think there are any. Runners and Stunners is like next level amazing, and what Jenny has done deserves nothing but credit. And then you look at Monday Mood Booster, so Marcus, and again, like, I will recommend any run club. So yesterday, our run club, I was like, by the way, 1, tomorrow's day 750 and I'm going to celebrate, and 2, Marcus's run club is incredible, and what Marcus has done, showing up consistently even when there was few people there, is amazing. And I think we should always
Marcus
credit people.
At your run club, I met him and was talking to him exactly about that. And
great guy.
100%, really, really is. And you get to meet so many incredible people at these run clubs. And as you say, some of them might have Instagram following or whatever, and some of them might not. The stories they have to tell are incredible, and that's really a huge thing about it. And as you say, your run club that you do with Exalt is going from Victoria, and is it every first?
So it's every fortnight on Thursday. It goes from Victoria into Hyde Park, back rounds. So there is a bag drop, dump your bag in the shop, do the loop, come back, get a drink, have a chat. We are looking at organising some socials. We've got some incredible collabs coming up. The one we did yesterday with Genki was a one-off, but I think we're 100% going to do more. So we ran from Exalt Victoria to Whisk, which is Genki's new coffee bar in Borough. And everyone got a matcha and an Exalt drink to take away with them. Because again, we're just about, you come along, we are rewarding you for that pursuit. Everyone got an Exalt t-shirt, and it was incredible. And I think we're now going to bring that back on a bit of a regular, whether it's monthly. We are assessing, like, Thursday nights is great, but it's dark with the current things. We might move to Saturday because, again, we're not stuck in our way. It's what works for the community. Currently, I'm going to do my 5Ks from there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I'm going to open it up to people, and I'm going to organise this march.
So as to say, they can. If you're listening in and you want to join Ian, then get in touch. I guess they can message you and
just reach out and be like, I want to go for a run. Like, I say I'll run at any pace, but if someone turns up and want to do a 5K in 18 minutes, that is not possible for me at the moment. So as long as you keep it in mind, just message on Instagram. I'm always open and honest to talk when somebody says, I feel this way, my leg hurts. I'm not a physio, but I'll probably tell you to just slow down. If someone asks me about the streak, I will always be honest. Streaks are not for everyone. There's a few people that go, oh, he's an idiot, he's running every day. They're not for everyone. I genuinely don't understand how my body does it, but it works for me. I think it would not work for everyone. And to be fair, when I did it before, it didn't work for me as well. I just hit a real lucky spot where it just works. Like the 11:30 runs don't feel bad. The midday runs don't feel bad. My body doesn't feel broken. I'm at that bit where it's just like the rhythm is there. So I'd never tell someone you should run every day. Do it.
Just see that progression. And I think for you, it's obviously bringing so much, and it's not so much the 5K that you're doing, but it's everything else that's bringing to your life. And I'm excited to see where that takes you, whether that be an Ironman next year, whether you're looking to maybe take on some other sort of challenge that you've got going on. It's exciting to see.
Actually, and probably the most comments I've had on the run streak are, run streaks make you slower. I've PB'd every distance during my run streak. I PB'd my half marathon by 12 minutes, my full marathon by 12 minutes, 10K by like 2 minutes, 5K maybe like 30 seconds. And again, it's just people are different. I'm not saying if you want to get quicker, do a run streak, but actually that criticism of you're just going to get slower, nobody knows, right? We're all different. We all adapt different.
I think
I
it's
used
the
to say it.
consistency of showing up.
Yeah.
And I mean, I did the 75 hard last year, and then at the end of it, I put my first ultra.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing that ultra at the start of that 75 hard challenge. I hadn't signed up to that. I don't even think I thought of it. And it was about day 20, and I thought, I've got to have something at the end of this.
Yeah.
I wanted something to work to. So I was enjoying it, but for me, I like there to be an end goal with
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And so, yeah, a week later after I did that, so I had to keep running because obviously I had to keep training.
Yeah,
So
of course.
I did that, and then I kept training that week, and then I did my first ultra at Race to the Stones, and somehow came
You
fourth.
came fourth, yes, yeah.
So
that's like
that
is
that kid
incredible.
that kid that was running off to the classroom because he came last in his
Yeah.
race somehow came fourth in a
And
major
that's
ultra
amazing.
race. So it's showing up.
I don't think I could do 75 hard. I've looked into it before, even during the streak. I'm like, oh, it wouldn't be that much to add on. I just look and go, do you know what? Like, it's not for me. If it works for some people, I'd see there's now like 75 soft, 75 medium, 75 hard. And
Yeah,
it's
there's
like,
different ones.
whatever works for you, right? My cousin, and I'm really blessed for this. I've got a wonderful cousin, David. He is on Instagram. He doesn't really use it. The running zoologist, because he works in a zoo. He has got into running through me, and he's not like, he dabbles, but sometimes he was like, I've tried running every day and I just can't do it. I'm like, well, just don't. Like, run maybe 3 times a week. Like, do whatever you can do. And he gets into his rhythm. He did Ealing, Har, PB'd it, although his Garmin had the distance slightly too short, so it didn't register as a PB.
All the time. When I did Amsterdam Marathon, same thing. It had me down as like 26 point something, and I was like, great. And then when I did the ultra marathon, I think it put me down as like, I think it was 50K. I think I had me at like 49.8.
Oh, savage!
You know? I'm like, what is going on? So, but yeah, I'm not calling out any different apps or anything. But
well, the funny thing is, I guess, because times have become less important for me, right? It's all about what happens up here. And I've just gone to an Apple Watch. I don't have a running watch. I don't wear a running watch.
Yeah, that's what I use. I think I've got the same. I've got the Ultra 2, and I've got that since those races. So maybe that want to be better. Yeah, like you say, I think they're great. And for me, it's never been about the times and that. I won't lie. Like in the last couple of races, certainly in Amsterdam, I thought about it there because I was like, well, this is a free hit. Like it wasn't a major. I was just going for that experience. But on the whole, and when I did that ultra marathon, I didn't realize I was fourth until.
That's amazing.
Honestly, I was 10K out from the end, and there's a little, like I say, you have these little sort of stops that you go to.
Yeah.
And I went into the last one and I thought, right, I'm going to get a drink. I think I went to the toilet first. I then sort of sauntered over to get a drink. And so I was doing everything in a longer process. And basically I got there and I'm like, well, do you want us to fill your drinks up? Do you want us to do this? And I was like, I'm good. I'm all right. And they were like, well, you do know you're fourth. And I was like, no, I didn't know that.
How far ahead was third?
He wasn't that far ahead. I saw him. I said, like, they actually did say to me, they were like, I mean, he was great, and he's a really nice guy. And he actually saw me because right near the end of that race, it loops round, and we'd spoken earlier on, and I'd said this was my first ultra, and he was like, when he was coming towards the end, when we were sort of looping around, and he was the other sort of side, he was like, "This is insane. This is your first ultra. How have you done this?" Like,
that's amazing, though, right? Those accidental, I guess, accidental victories are the best, right?
Yeah. I honestly thought I was like 200 odd. Like that's what, because I'd seen family around, like my dad and my stepmom were there, and they were cheering. It's incredible, and they were like, "There's not that many people ahead of you." That's all I had. And I thought, oh, okay. And I couldn't see many people, but in my head, I thought it's just because they were all so far ahead. Like there's a big gap. It's 50K. So it was only at the end when they sort of said that, and I thought, okay. I was like, yes, please fill them up. And as I say, I'd been taking a bit of time there, and certainly not what I would do if I was thinking, I can get a time there. But who knows? Like you say, in the future. But I've decided I wanted to do 100K, so that's what I'm going to do.
That's amazing. I can't wait to see how you do. I can't wait.
We'll have to see. But as you say, when you train and when you put that consistency in, amazing things can happen. And and I've talked to loads of people, and who I've talked to, it was actually Tasha Thompson who said to me to come and do Race to the Stones, and she was doing it, and I saw her, and I was chatting with her on the way around. That's what I mean. I wasn't approaching it in the same way I would a marathon, and we were having a great time. And I think I started right at the back because I was like, I'll just start, I'll just chill So the idea that happened was
Could have won it,
insane, but the
mate.
point
Could have
is,
won it.
I don't know about that, but we'll see. You never know. But the point is, like, she was like, yeah, come along and experience this, and it's a different vibe to that, and it really was. So I think, you know, sometimes when you show up and you just enjoy it, amazing things can happen, but it's more about the actual experience itself.
Yeah.
And so
So
that
take
brings me
voice, right?
really, exactly, it brings me to my final question. And obviously we've covered a lot of ground here, but in terms of maybe taking on a streak like yours, or getting into running, or taking on something epic that puts you into that discomfort, what's your best advice to somebody who says, I could never do that, I can't even run for the bus?
Get out your head. So I think when you look at, and again, I feel like the streak's unlocked so much. You are capable of so much. Little steps will get you so far, but if you don't take that first step, you're never going to get anywhere. And it doesn't matter what it is, right? It doesn't have to be a physical activity. Like it could be you see a job and you go, oh, I'm not good enough. Well, what if you apply, and what if you're the only person that applies? So naturally you get it and then you grow. Like, I think we as people, and partly because there's so many people out there that are maybe negative towards certain people, that, you know, I'm quite positive with my outlook on you know, on life. There's an element of life shit, you get on with it, but there's so much beautiful things out there that I think just embrace life, just understand your worth and what you're capable of. And if you don't think you have that worth, just look deeper, because everyone's got something to offer. And I think if you're not sure you can do 5K, do 1K. Like, who says 5K is the distance?
Yeah.
Like, just because
Yeah.
there's only a race that does 5K, well, ultimately, there's a mile race, which is
Yeah.
not even, okay? Like, I think they're the bits of just going, start small, it sounds a bit like big, find your tribe. You know, people call it a tribe, but just find your support network, because if you don't have one, there is one out there. Like, I guarantee you, if there was someone that wanted to run their first K and they messaged you, you would support them on it. Michael would,
100%.
Ben would, I would. There's so many people that support you. And yeah, there's people out there that will want you to fail simply because they've failed themselves. And instead of looking within themselves to feel better, they want other people to fail too. And I just think that we're all capable of so much. And I think everybody is capable of more than what they're doing now, because we all have the capability to grow. And I think just go for it. Go for it. Find someone, ask them a question, take that first step, because I've done a marathon because of that first step.
Yeah.
And yours might not lead you to a marathon. It might just be 2K, 3K, 4K, 5K. You know, I make the joke of run streaks that the reason I do 5K, and this is my rule, and I don't discredit anyone else doing run streaks that do less distance. My rule was, if it takes me longer to get ready than it does to do the run, I wouldn't see the benefit.
Sure.
But naturally, if someone is at a point where they just want to do 1K, that's great, because that's suitable for you. And I just think, just understand your worth. Everyone's got so much to offer.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you say, find that support network, find those people that will lift you up and know that you can do it. I know for sure, like when I first got into it, the people who really knew me were saying, well, you will do this because you're mentally not going to stop. And that support that you have around you is crucial. And when you obviously listening to what you've had to say today, and mentioning the people also that can, you know, that you see online, or people that you know personally, and if anyone's listened to this podcast before or listened back to some of the other episodes, it's filled with people who will support you, who lift others up, and there's different groups that you can be involved in, and they are not people, and you're not a person who is going to push anyone down. If you want to do something, even if it might seem, you know, deliriously mad or anything like that, it's something that you can do, because it might be deliriously mad to you, but if you've got the faith and support around you, you can make that happen. So
and I also think, and this is something that it might sound harsh, I also think, like, in life, we're not here to collect friends. So if some of your friends aren't that support network, find new friends. Like, there's an element of, I've been through many changes in my life, and there's people I just don't talk to anymore because it's like, actually, we don't get, there's nothing that is, we're not helping each other grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Find your Michaels, like, that's the bit, is some people see it as like, they want to have a huge friendship network. Why?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
I've got,
Yeah,
I've got one best friend, right? And we don't talk that often, but when we talk loads, and it's not Runner Ben or Michael. And it's so much so that that's his initials,
yeah,
JWE. And I will, like, some people don't feel comfortable saying it, I love the guy so much. He means the world to me. We've been through so much. He doesn't run.
Right.
He don't need to run, but we talk, and he's like, how you doing? You did a marathon. Amazing.
Yeah.
He's like, they're your people, and, you know,
Definitely.
and it sounds weird, but he came through the weeds, because there was loads of weeds and loads of people. I'm just like, right. And a big catalyst for that was having a daughter.
Yeah.
I was like, right, life's changed. I've got a daughter now. Party lifestyle is gone.
Yeah.
Let's move forwards. James, I adore you. We're still friends now. He's moved away. We're going to go visit him. But that's the bit of, like, you don't need to collect friends. Just find your people, keep your people, and good things will happen.
Exactly. And find those people that are going to elevate you and support you, and you can support them, because I mean, that's a huge thing, isn't it? And like you say, you might find that in running, you might find that in different ways, but like you say, if people want to reach out to yourself or to me, we'd be more than happy to support them. And obviously, we've talked already about the Deliriously Mad challenges that we have, and we're actively looking for people. And we've already got some people, obviously, who've done amazing things, but we're always open to new people who want to do different things, and we want to really support those people. So if you're listening to this thinking, actually, you know what, I want to do that, or I've got something in mind, do get in touch, because we'd love to help.
We're here for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ian. I honestly really appreciate you coming on. There was so much that we covered there, and it's always great chatting to you, so thanks for it.
No, I appreciate being on. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Running for the Bus, presented by BKDMC. Thank you to our guest today, Ian Arnold, also known as Ian Runs London, the Podcast Rooms, and Veloforte for their support. Don't forget, you can get 30% off of Veloforte with the code RFTB30. Head to the BKDMC Insta now to find the tread playlist, the Rookie Runners training plan, information on how to become one of our Deliriously Mad challenges, and lots more. If you've enjoyed the show, well, what are you waiting for? Hit follow and you'll be notified every time a new episode drops. We'd also love to hear from you, so drop us a message or leave a review. See you next time on Running for the Bus, where you can listen and watch on the run, on the bus, or whilst you're running for it.